from the betting capital of the world. Giving raw and real breakdowns of mixed martial arts and recapping UFC events like no one else with producer Martin on the ones and twos and combat sports betting expert Effie. You're listening to Any Action Sportscast. Any Action Sportscast. So put your headphones on and let's take this podcast to the next level.
This isn't a podcast. It's a sportscast.
What's up, guys? We are back. It's your boy Effie with Any Action Sportscast, here to go over UFC Vegas 82. Paul Craig versus Brendan Allen. It's going to be a grappler's delight in that main event. A pretty good fight night card overall from top to bottom. We're coming off a losing night last week at UFC 295 where we lost 3.73 units. So we need to bounce back this week, and there are quite a few spots that I do like on this card. So without any further ado, let's get right into the fights. Our very first fight, we have a men's featherweight between Lucas Alexander and Jeka Saragih. Lucas Alexander comes in with an 8-3 record, 28 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. He is fighting Jeka Saragih, who comes in with a 13-3 record, currently 28 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. And right away, guys, I got to mention the money line here. Lucas Alexander comes in at minus 430. Jeka on the comeback at plus 320. And I got to say, that line is crazy to me, man. This is a pretty good fight between two pretty good prospects where, I mean, they're pretty competent on the feet. The way I see this fight going is Jeka is going to be at a pretty big disadvantage if Lucas decides to put him on his back. If Lucas can close the range and get this guy down and put him on his back and make him work off his back, Lucas should, pretty much cruise to a decision. But if this stands at range for 15 minutes, that's going to be in the area where Jeka is, best at. And I feel like that'd be a pretty low IQ move from Lucas Alexander here to not pursue the wrestling here and try to out-grapple Jeka here. So two really good prospects, two really good stand-up fighters, man. Some pretty high-level striking here. I really like the leg kicks from Lucas, and I think that's going to be the X factor in this fight. Plus, like I said, his ability to mix in the takedowns and get this fight down, in a much safer realm. Give me Lucas Alexander to win a decision, but man, that's insane. I was shocked when I saw that money line was at minus 430 for Lucas. He will be the bigger, taller guy. He does have a 3-inch height advantage, and I believe a 4-inch reach advantage. So that is going good for Lucas here. But give me Lucas Alexander to win. And like I said, guys, I am shocked at that money line. But yeah, Lucas should win this fight. Up next, we have one of my favorite fighters, Charles Energy Johnson, taking on Rafael Estevam. Charles Energy Johnson comes in with a 13-5 record. He is currently 32 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach. Fighting Rafael Estevam, who comes in with an 11-0 record, undefeated prospect, 27 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach. Now for this fight, I believe Charles Johnson comes in as the underdog again. He is currently sitting as a plus 115 underdog. Rafael on the comeback is a favorite at minus 140. So I said he's one of my favorite fighters, but that's a joke. I was being sarcastic because, man, when I die, I want Charles Johnson to lay my casket down in the ground so he can lay me down one more time, because every time I bet on this guy, he loses. I will say I bet on against him against Jimmy Flick, and he got us the easy win there. But, man, he burned us against Cody Dern, and he burned us against O'Day Osborne. And the thing with him is that he tends to fight all of his fights really close. He doesn't really have finishing ability unless he's fighting a super old, semi-washed Jimmy Flick. But he's a good grappler, a pretty well-rounded fighter, good striking and good defensive and offensive wrestling. He's fighting Rafael Estevam, who in my opinion is a little less well-rounded. I really like the grappling from Rafael, and I really like the top control. Really good grappling from this guy. And that should be useful here against someone like Charles Johnson. But I actually think I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm picking Charles Johnson to win this fight, to win via decision. It's going to come down to his ability to stay off the ground. If he uses enough good defensive wrestling here, stays off the warning track, stays in the center of the octagon, and uses his footwork, he's a better striker here than Rafael. On the feet, skill for skill, I'm giving it to Charles Johnson. It just comes down to, can Rafael utilize his grappling and get Charles Johnson down? So, and it's so crazy because you could argue Charles Johnson lost to Zalmasu Magulov. And I don't want to say anything bad about Zalgis.
If I catch another motherfucker talking sweet about
Zalgis Zumagulov,
I'm fucking beating their ass.
But that's not the high level of a fighter. But give me the underdog, Charles Energy Johnson, to come through and win a decision by using his defensive grappling and staying off his back. If Rafael comes in and just works him for a 30-27 and controls him for 3 rounds, I'll be legitimately impressed. So give me Charles Johnson to win this fight via decision. And up next, we have a bantamweight fight between Chad Anheliger and Jose Johnson. Chad comes in with a 12-6 record. He is 36 years old, 5'6", with a 64-inch reach. He is fighting Jose Johnson, who comes in with a 15-8 record, currently 28 years old, 6 foot tall, with a 71.5-inch reach. And you guys heard that right. This is a 135 bantamweight fight, and Jose Johnson is 6 feet tall. Absolutely wild. We saw him come in on short notice and get famously twisted by Damon Blackshear. And in my opinion, that's a huge disservice to how good he is. I know he got twisted. I know that's super embarrassing, and you never want to get twisted ever. But he's good. Jose Johnson is good. I actually rate him as a pretty good fighter. It sucks that he got twisted in his last fight, but he's fighting a junkyard dog in Chad Anheliger. Chad Anheliger is going to be going forward. He's going to be bringing the fight to Jose Johnson, but he's at a huge size disadvantage. It's a pretty common theme for a lot of Jose Johnson's, opponents. He's 6 feet tall with a 71.5-inch reach at 135 pounds. You just don't really see that often. Like, other than the champ Sean O'Malley, you rarely see someone even that close to being that tall at 135. Just crazy, man. Skinny as a rail. But like I said, Challenger, huge size disadvantage, and he's also really old in this fight. He's 36 years old. It's an 8-year age gap going in the favor of Jose Johnson here. The skill for skill, I believe Chad's going to be the one going forward, trying to push the pace in the striking, and then trying to get Jose down, because at range for 15 minutes, he's going to get sniped in this fight. I think Jose Johnson has the skill to put Chad away and make him become a panic wrestler at some point in this fight. And I'm actually going to go with Jose Johnson to win inside the distance. So give me Jose Johnson. I'm going to go with a second round knockout. But Chad's a dog, man. He's been, in the UFC forever. He's a super good veteran. Tough test for the young up-and-comer Jose Johnson, but I think he gets it done. Up next, we have a banger of a fight between Jonathan Pearce and Joanderson Brito. This is actually my prediction for fight of the night. This fight is the fight that I'm looking most forward to on the entire card. It's going to be a banger. Jonathan Pearce comes in with a 14-4 record, 31 years old, 6 foot tall, with a 71-inch reach. He's fighting Joanderson Brito, who comes in with a 15-3-1 record, 28 years old, 5'8", with a 72-inch reach. And man, this is going to be a banger. It's going to be tough to, kind of call where it's going to go, because I can foresee a game plan from Jonathan Pearce to utilize those takedowns, utilize his grappling, and take Joanderson down and zap him of his energy. Both these guys actually tend to fade the longer the fight goes. I'm super interested to see how that third round's going to look, because if Jonathan Pearce starts to slow down and he's there to be hit, Joanderson Brito is going to crack this dude. The thing I like about this fight is that we have a super power puncher in Joanderson Brito versus a guy that can just maul people in Jonathan Pearce. I was joking with my friends, and if Jonathan Pearce was Russian and had an OV at the end of his name, had a funny looking beard, he would probably be around minus 200 in this fight. The thing is, he's not. He's white. He's a dude from Tennessee. So fighting out of Arizona against a killer in Joanderson Brito. So, we have a minus 130 line, a super closely lined fight here. And it's because, man, I feel like Vegas is definitely respecting the finishing ability here from Joanderson Brito. Joanderson Brito has cinder blocks for hands, but he also has really good submissions. He has good BJJ, good offensive and defensive grappling and jiu-jitsu. And that's going to be key here, because Jonathan Pearce is going to be looking to get him down, like I said, on the feet. It wouldn't be smart, in my opinion, for Jonathan Pearce to test his striking out. I mean, he has good hands, good techniques, and good combinations. I like his speed too, but to me, Joanderson Brito is going to have a significant speed advantage in this fight and a significant power advantage in this fight. Jonathan Pearce, man, he was getting hit quite a bit against Christian Rodriguez, and that's something I've always noticed about Jonathan Pearce. He doesn't have the best striking defense. He's kind of give one to take one type fighter, and that's not going to work against Joanderson Brito. So I actually worry that he will get knocked out in this fight late. Oh, man, it's tough, because I really like Jonathan Pearce. I like betting on him. He's kind of been a cash cow for us. But I got to go with the smaller, undersized guy in Joanderson Brito. Give me Joanderson Brito inside the distance. I think he's going to finish Jonathan Pearce. He just has to survive that first round, that first tidal wave, and not look dead in that second round. Hopefully his cardio holds up, and hopefully his conditioning holds up in this fight, because I think that Joanderson Brito does have the ability to catch Jonathan Pearce in this fight. It just comes down to Jonathan Pearce's striking defense and top control. Can he control Joanderson Brito? Joanderson Brito is going to have to be careful in this fight to not overextend going for the kill on those power shots and leave himself open to get level change and taken down, put on his back. And that's definitely likely, or a very possible scenario in this fight. It's going to be such a banger, man. I can't wait for this one. I'm super interested to see who's going to win this fight. I'm probably going to stay away and just watch as a fan. If Joanderson Brito for some reason wins and then decides to call out Dan Ige, I would be cracking up. Really quick, his last fight, I don't know why no one really saw this coming. He won and then just started screaming at Dan Ige, and everyone was like, "What the hell? What did Dan Ige do to you, bro?" I thought it was hilarious. So Give me Joanderson Brito, another underdog. Give me an upset win, a knockout win at that. Oh my God. And we follow the best fight on the card with no doubt the worst fight on the card. We have Mick Parkin taking on Caio Machado, a heavyweight affair. Mick Parkin, undefeated prospect, comes in at 7-0. He is 28 years old, 6'4", with a 79-inch reach. He's fighting Caio Machado, who comes in with the 8-1-1 record, 29 years old, 6'4", with a 78-inch reach. I'm going to start with Caio because, man, I am pretty low on this guy. You know, I'm not saying he has no chance in this fight. You know, I'll never say that about someone in the heavyweight division. I'm pretty sure he has no chance to win this fight. Super underwhelming and unimpressive. He came off the Dana White Contender Series where he had one of the worst fights of the entire season. I was kind of surprised that he got a contract, but the heavyweight division is pretty thin in the UFC. So Dana White, you know, bolstered up the roster there, got another guy into the UFC. And, you know, kind of funny, his opponent today, or earlier this week, I believe, tested positive for cocaine. So he actually fought a dude that was out partying on coke the night before. So, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, he's been fighting a ton of bums. If you watch this tape, he is fighting just trash cans, old men, guys that just flop over at any chance. And he's just finishing, man. He has 8 wins, 8 finishes. He's going in there. I'm sorry, his first non-finish came in the Dana White Contender Series. He's going in there and just bodying these bums on the regional scene before the Contender Series, where he looked bad. Like, he looked terrible. I was not impressed. There's nothing about that fight that I thought, okay, I can't wait to bet him in the future. Absolutely not. He's fighting Mick Parkin, who, you know, does give me those similar vibes, those positive vibes. Another Dana White Contender Series fight where he looked good, had good takedowns in that fight. Beat undefeated fighter, looked okay. That guy wasn't that good, but he also looked good against Jamal Post. This is the fight that to me gave me the more confidence in him to win this fight. Jamal Post, a decent, you know, UFC caliber fighter, and he looked good. He looked good in every area in that fight. Good combinations. Good wrestling and top control as well, and good clinch work. So that's where I think is going to happen in this fight. I believe this is actually going to go all 3 rounds. I'm going with Mick Parkin to win a decision in this fight. Go ahead and walk your dog once, twice, maybe 3 times during this fight. And I expect the clinch to be a big factor in this fight for Mick Parkin. I think he's going to give Caio Machado the work in the clinch and maybe find himself on top in this fight. So give me Mick Parkin to win via decision. And I am not, you know, looking forward to that fight. I'll be honest. Up next, a women's bantamweight fight that I am excited to watch. We have Lucie Pudilova taking on Ailin Perez. I'm pretty sure that's not her nickname, but that's kind of funny that it has it on Typology right now. We have Lucie Pudilova coming in 14-8. She is 29 years old, 5'8", with a 67.5-inch reach. He is fighting Ailin Perez, who comes in with an 8-2 record, 29 years old, 5'5", with a 66-inch reach. Now, Ailin Perez finds herself as the favorite. She's approaching all the way to minus 200. The comeback on Lucie, the underdog, coming in at plus 165. So this line is on the move. Earlier this week, I saw Ailin Perez around minus 150. And like I said, she's all the way to minus 190, minus 200. Just crazy, man. And I don't get it. Hey, hand up, guys. I have to be honest with you. I don't get this line movement. Yes, Lucie Pudilova is not the best fighter in the UFC. Yes, she's been vulnerable in fights. And yes, she is pretty underwhelming in general. But I do not trust Ailin Perez at minus 200 over anybody. We bet on her against Ashley Evans-Smith in that fight, her most recent fight, and she won. She looked good against a girl that was a complete bum, hasn't fought in forever, in Ashley Evans-Smith. That was a layup fight for her. I mean, guys, Ashley Evans-Smith is 6-5 in her pro MMA career, and Ailin Perez took her to decision. And not only that, she was looking pretty tired in that 3rd round. That's what worries me in this fight. Before that, she made her UFC debut against Stephanie Egger, and she showed extremely low fight IQ. She bum rushed head forward, put her head in her clinch against a really good Muay Thai girl and got thrown on her head. Super low IQ move there. And man, the way she fights is that she relies a lot on her grappling. You can tell by her nickname, Ramagomedov. And she's a good wrestler. You know, I'm not going to knock her on that. She's really good at getting girls against the warning track and then in the clinch along the cage, holding them up there and just working to try to get trips or throws from that position along the cage. In the open mat, I don't foresee her taking down too many people. She seems to be slow, you know, lumbering as the fight goes on, and the striking is just not there. Lucie Pudilova, in my opinion, is a live underdog. I am picking Lucie Pudilova to win this fight. I know it's crazy. She came off a fight against Jocelyn Edwards where she got robbed, dude. You know, you hate to use the robbery word in MMA. It's kind of like sus. But that was a fight that I thought she won, dude. I was kind of shocked when the cards came in, and I was extra shocked when I actually saw the scorecards that the judges, you know, put in. Before that, she beat a girl that was not good in Yanan Wu. And Lucie for sure has given us moments to doubt her in the UFC. She can get out controlled on her, back, which is probably what we're gonna see from Ailin Perez in this fight. But I actually think that she's been working on her jiu-jitsu, since her tough run, her first run in the UFC. And man, I just feel like that she's alive on like minus. This seems to me as a huge market overcorrection where Ailin Perez comes in, loses to Stephanie Egger. She comes in as a moderate favorite against a bum in Ashley Evans Smith, and now she's a huge favorite against a girl that's not a bum, who's actually still active, that's still fighting in the UFC, and coming off a win. She could be on a 4-fight winning streak, Lucie Pudilova. So I'm going with Lucie Pudilova, man. I think that she's going to be able to survive the control time in that first round, not get finished off her back, not get finished in that first or second round, and start to take over halfway through that second and into the third round. So give me Lucie Pudilova to win a decision and pull the upset over Ailin, looking like Fiona from Shrek Perez. And up next, we have a banger, a striker versus grappler fight. I love these types of fights. We have a lightweight fight between Nikolas Motta and Trey Ogden. Nikolas Motta comes in with a 13-5 record, 30 years old, 5'9", with a 70.5-inch reach. He's fighting Trey Ogden, who comes in with a 16-6 record, 34 years old, 5'11", with a 72.5-inch reach. Now, I'm going to start with the money line here. We have Nikolas Motta coming in at minus 135 and Trey Ogden coming in at plus 110. And that sucks because I was hoping to get a little better number on Trey Ogden, as I am picking another underdog in this fight. I'm going with Trey Ogden in this fight. I know it's a lot of underdogs, and that's not usually my style, but I think he has enough to win this fight. So Nikolas Motta is someone that I'm a fan of, man. He has really good power. So Nikolas Motta is a dangerous striker at any moment in the fight. He does seem to fade as the fight goes on. He's still young. I mean, he's 30 years old. Actually, not that young. But he's young in terms of his UFC career. He doesn't have that much experience. He got finished by Jim Miller via right hook, where we actually bet on him in that fight against Jim Miller. And from then, I've kind of stayed away from him. I definitely don't want to bet a guy that's getting knocked out by Jim Miller. He comes back and wins against Cameron Van Camp, who I believe has since been cut from the UFC. And after that, again, gets knocked out by Manuel Torres. And that's the thing with Nikolas Motta. I worry that he has a bad chin. He is 13-5. He's been finished in all 5 losses. He's fighting Trey Ogden, who, granted, hand up. He doesn't have the most finishing ability, doesn't have the most, dangerous, stone hands out there at 155. But he's a good overall fighter who's very well-rounded. And that's the thing. Trey Ogden, in my opinion, has the ability to level change and take Nikolas Motta down in this fight. And that's why I'm leaning with him in this fight. Nikolas Motta can change the fight at any moment. He could be losing the entire fight and then finish him in that third round. That is definitely a possibility. I think it's more likely that he overextends and gets taken down by Trey Ogden and then loses the decision via the top control. So give me Trey Ogden to level change and get this guy down in Nikolas Motta and win a decision as an underdog. Flat out striker versus striker, definitely the advantage goes to Nikolas Motta, but on the ground, I'm definitely giving it to Trey Ogden. The ability to get it there definitely goes to Trey Ogden. The only thing that's keeping me away from betting on Trey Ogden in this fight is that he's 34 years old. I know that's only 4 years older than Nikolas Motta, but for 155, that is a little bit up there in age. He seems to be pretty durable. If he could take a shot, in the UFC, I've seen him get cracked. And he's definitely durable in there, whereas he's not getting finished by left and right or anything like that. It's actually Nikolas Motta that's getting finished left and right. So, yeah, man, give me Trey Ogden. Give me Trey Ogden to win via decision. Kicking off the main card, we have a women's strawweight fight between Amanda Ribas and Luana Pinheiro. Ribas comes in with an 11-4 record, currently the favorite at minus 210. She is 30 years old, 5'3", with a 66-inch reach. Luana Pinheiro, on the other side, comes in with an 11-1 record, currently 30 years old, currently plus 205 on the money line. She is 5'4", with a 62-inch reach. And I am picking another underdog in this fight. I'm going with Luana Pinheiro to win and pull off the upset over Amanda Ribas. Now, Ribas, got crushed in her last fight against Macy Barber, most recently 3 months ago. And she was up a weight class. So now she's coming back down to her normal weight class at 115. At 125, she's just way smaller than, her opponents are going to be in that weight class. So that probably wasn't the best move for her. But I just cannot justify minus 250 here in this fight for Ribas. Ribas is a very good striker, very slick. She has a karate, bouncing stance. But she's super hittable and has a questionable chin, in my opinion. She does have a good jiu-jitsu off her back. She's very quick with her transitions. She can pass your guard pretty quickly. And she's very competent for sure on the mat. Definitely respectable BJJ. But she's fighting Luana Pinheiro, who, in my opinion, isn't the best fighter in the UFC. I'm not, sitting here running to the window trying to bet on her either. But I just can't justify it. Minus 250 for Ribas, laying 2.5 to 1. In a fight where I 100% think it's going to go to decision, and I actually think that the finishing upside here comes from Luana Pinheiro. If anyone finishes this fight, I actually think that it's going to be the underdog finishing this fight, catching Ribas in this fight. Ribas, man, I swear she is so hittable, and she'll be winning fights, and then just get clocked by a significant strike and just get like the cobwebs shaken, and she like has to shake her head. I don't know, man. I'm just not sold on Romana Ribas. I mean, it's not like she's not proven by now. We all know who she is by now. It's just that at minus 250, I cannot get behind it. I cannot pick her to win this fight. I think it's going to be a close fight. If anything, I would line up Romana Ribas around minus 140 at most. But I definitely think that line is wide. Luana Pinheiro has a good skill set. She has decent striking, good jiu-jitsu off her back, very good offensive and defensive wrestling as far as her jiu-jitsu, looking for submissions. And on the feet, I don't really see a huge advantage for Ribas in this fight. I know Ribas has those really good front kicks, a lot of good kicks to the body, but man, I think Luana Pinheiro is 50-50 in the stand-up here, and definitely 50-50 in the grappling. So, Romana Ribas is the fighter coming off getting knocked out recently. I mean, man, give me Luana Pinheiro. Give me the underdog here to win via decision, and I wouldn't be shocked to see her finish Ribas in this fight, man. I'm telling you, Ribas is hittable, and she has a questionable chin. Has to cut more weight now at 115, but we'll see. We got a lot of underdogs this week, guys. Up next, we have another underdog. No, we have a bantamweight fight between Payton Talbott and Nick Aguirre. Payton, the undefeated blue chip prospect, comes in 6-0. He is 25 years old, 5'10", with a 70.5-inch reach. He is fighting Nick Aguirre, who comes in 7-1, 27 years old, 5'9", with a 74-inch reach. So a huge height advantage for Talbot and a huge reach advantage for Aguirre in this fight. And like I said, Payton Talbot comes in undefeated, a prospect here. Super touted, man. A lot of high hopes for this guy. He came in looking good on the Dana White Contender Series. He's a very good striker, and he's huge for the division. He's 5'10" at 135. That's insane. I mean, it's only 1 inch taller than Nick Aguirre, but Nick Aguirre, to me, is not, I mean, I don't want to talk shit about anyone, but like, he's not that good. He's nothing about his game that I think is gonna help him have a long UFC career. No offense. Decent on the feet, decent off his back. We saw him get finished by. Not get finished, to lose against Dan Argueta. And to me, gonna have to grapple Talbot in this fight. Talbot is a very diverse and dangerous striker. And I haven't brought it up yet, but I have to bring it up. That money line is absolutely insane. Payton Talbot has reached around minus 800 on the money line, 8-1 on his UFC debut, man. Absolutely wild stuff. Not me, man. You're not gonna see me get behind that parlay that at all. Good luck. I mean, I'm sure he wins. I'm pretty confident in this fight that Payton Talbot wins this fight. I think he has very good striking. I think he's gonna put Nick Aguirre on his back foot, have him backing up the whole fight, have him circling in this fight, and it's gonna look good for the judges. And if he doesn't catch him at one point and finish him, he's gonna win a decision. I do expect Nick to try to desperately take down Talbot at some point in this fight, but I feel like Talbot can defend, stay up on his feet, keep it standing, and put on a clinic. So give me Talbot, but at minus 800. That's just a joke. Making a UFC debut. You have to find another route to bet this fight. Bet his method of victory. Do you think he's going to win by knockout? I think so. What round do you think? I think round 2. So round 2, knockout, Payton Talbot. Hopefully that gets you better odds than minus 800. But give me Payton to win his debut. Minus 800, that's crazy. And the next 2 fights, guys, really quickly are going to be super quick breakdowns because they're last-minute replacements. These just actually got booked today. Uros Medic comes in taking on... I don't even know what this dude's... Mick Tybeck Orbai. And Uros Medic comes in with a 9-1 record. He is 30 years old, 6'1" with a 71-inch reach. Mick Orbai comes in with 11-1-1 record. He is 5'10" with no reach listed or age. Yeah, so super short notice. I actually saw a little bit of this McTibbet guy. I saw him get that highlight reel finish in his most recent fight. That was only 2 weeks ago. He fought in LFA, got a crazy uppercut finish where he sent the dude's head through the rafters. It was pretty insane. That's the thing though. The only times I've seen him fight, he seems to be fighting pretty low level guys. I mean, he's crushing them and finishing them and looking good doing it, but I really don't know how good of opponents he's facing outside the UFC. He's taking this on short notice. He's fighting Uros Medic, who is a good striker, very dangerous on the feet, definitely durable. We saw him get rocked in his last fight against Matthew Semmelsberger, come back and win via spinning back fist. That was insane. I was actually at that fight. I had money against Uros Medic in his last fight, and he got rocked. And I thought I was on my way to win that Semmelsberger money line bet. And he weathers the storm, comes back and knocks out Semmelsberger, rocks him, finishes him, had the place going crazy, and I was just sitting there in my seat like, you gotta be kidding me. Eros is a dog. But this other dude seems to be the truth too. But like I said, I don't know if he's finding some trash cans out there. I mean, odd stuff because he has a funny hat. He definitely wears a funny hat to the Octagon, so that's definitely dangerous. The dude has a crazy name. Give me the underdog. Now joking. Give me Eros Medic here. The line's not out, but I would imagine he's a super big favorite. This other dude's taking this on like 4 days notice. Kind of crazy. After that, we have another late replacement fight. Christian Leroy Duncan, CLD, taking on Dennis to Lillian. Now, these guys we're familiar with. So we have Christian Leroy Duncan. He's coming in with an 8-1 record. He is 28 years old, 6'2", with a 79-inch reach. He is fighting Dennis to Lillian, who comes in with an 11-8 record. That's hilarious. 35 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach. So yeah, Dennis to Lillian is the fighter that's coming in on short notice in this fight. He's fighting Christian Leroy Duncan, who is a former Cage Warriors champion overseas. And I was actually picking against Christian Leroy originally. I was going to pick against him. I was going to pick his opponent here. But something happened to him, and he had to get pulled out of the fight. In steps Dennis to Lillian on 4-day notice. And he's a good striker, man. Dennis is actually, I think, going to get the fight he wants in this fight. I don't foresee Christian Leroy Duncan trying to out-grapple Dennis to Lillian in this fight. He's more of a kickboxer, upright Muay Thai fighter. And Dennis, I mean, that's the area he's best at. Like, that's, if anything, Dennis doesn't want to get out-grappled and submitted. Like, and that's definitely not going to happen from Christian Leroy Duncan because he's a striker. So that's kind of interesting. So he's actually more of a live underdog on short notice than you would think. But give me Christian Leroy Duncan. I would imagine his money line is going to be insane, like minus 450, minus 500. So yeah, give me Christian Leroy Duncan to finish Dennis to Lillian, and it would be hilarious if he clubbed and subbed him. I did not see Park finishing, Dennis to Lillian the way he did, so anything's possible. Give me Leroy Duncan. I'm going to club and sub. I'm going to go submission. Club and sub. I think he rocks him and then goes in for the submission. Up next, we have a lightweight fight between Jordan, the Monkey King Leavitt, and Chase Hooper. This is going to be a banger of a fight. I can't wait for this fight. If you're a hardcore fan, you know how excited we all are for this fight. Super fight between two nerds. I'll be honest. A fight between two nerds. Jordan Leavitt coming in with an 11-2 record, 28 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Fighting Chase Hooper, another young guy coming in with a 12-3-1 record, 24 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. And right away, we got to start with the money line. The odds on this fight. Chase Hooper finds himself at minus 200. Jordan Leavitt has been bet down a little bit, around plus 190, plus 185 now. And I don't get that at all. That seems crazy to me. Just like the Amanda Ribas fight. I mean, sure, Amanda Ribas might win that fight, and Chase Hooper might win this fight. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that these lines are wide, in my opinion. I actually think that this was going to be a pick'em. When I saw these lines, I was stunned. Give me Jordan Leavitt in this fight. Another underdog. I'm going with Jordan Leavitt in this fight. I am super biased in this fight. Jordan used to train at Syndicate. I believe he made the switch over to Extreme now. But he's still a homie. I've actually seen him in the gym a couple times. He's super nice. Dude, Chase Hooper, it's weird because in his last fight, he came in as an underdog, right? I guess Nick Fiore. He's still super young, right? 24 years old, making improvements in the UFC. He's pretty one-dimensional, very good jiu-jitsu. His striking is what needs improvement, right? And in that last fight, his boxing looked really good. He looked more filled out in his frame. He's getting, more mature in the UFC in front of our eyes. And he looked good in that Nick Fiore fight as an underdog, right? And so now he comes in as a huge favor where I actually think that he's getting a harder fight in Jordan Leavitt, and he's coming in as a big, more like a heavier favorite. So that's kind of weird to me. Jordan Leavitt, it sucks that he got finished and got his arm trapped against Paddy Pimblett because I thought that was going to be a closer fight. He got finished by Paddy Pimblett over there in Europe. It happens. He came back with a good slam over Victor Martinez. That was kind of crazy. Give me Jordan Leavitt because I think that the striking probably going to go to Jordan Leavitt. The IQ probably goes to Jordan Leavitt. The offensive wrestling probably goes to Jordan Leavitt, and the jiu-jitsu probably goes to Chase Hooper. So a lot of the factors in this fight go to Jordan Leavitt, the underdog, plus 200, plus 190. Yeah, I just feel like I have to bet it, but you're not forced to ever bet on fights. There's a lot of fights. You got to be careful with what you bet. But that line just seems crazy off to me, man. Give me Jordan Leavitt to win that fight via decision. And in the co-main event, we have a potential 5-unit bomb on this fight. You have Jake, the Celtic Kid Matthews, taking on Michael Morales. Jake Matthews comes in with a 19-6 record. He is 29 years old, 5'11", 7 with a 72-inch reach. He's fighting Michael Morales, who comes in undefeated. Blue chip prospect for sure. 15-0, 24 years old, 6 foot with a 29-inch reach. So It's actually funny because I expected, not expected, but Jake Matthews has been around for the UFC a long ass time. He has a ton of UFC experience. He's only 29 years old. That's kind of crazy. And Michael Morales is super young, right? 24 years old. It's kind of skyrocketing in the UFC. It sucks he had to do our homie Adam Fugue the way he did, but he's a good fighter with good boxing, good offensive wrestling, and defensive wrestling. This guy seems to be the truth. Good fight IQ. He has a little weird stance where he tends to keep his hands a little low sometimes. Jake Matthews, and that's going to be a problem here because Jake Matthews can crack. He definitely has good power on his shots, but he's also hittable as well. He was getting clobbered all over the place against Matthew Semelsberger, and I don't think that he's going to be able to eat the same shots that he ate from Semelsberger that he will here from Morales here. I think that Morales is a pretty safe play. I mentioned it earlier. I don't see a path for victory for Jake Matthews other than sleeping and catching Michael Morales at some point in this fight. And in my opinion, it's going to have to be late. In the third round, Jake Matthews, that's probably the most likely he's going to knock out Michael Morales if he does knock him out. I don't think it's going to happen. Give me Michael Morales to win this fight. I think that he could utilize his wrestling, his clinch here against Jake Matthews along the warning track here and control minutes there, or win an extended 15-minute striking fight where I don't think that Jake Matthews will have the output or, the power shots to put away Michael Morales, where I think Michael Morales with one punch could end Jake Matthews at any point in this fight. So give me Michael Morales to win this fight. I'm going to go with a 3-round decision. Super interesting fight, especially when you consider the money line. We have Brendan All-In Allen versus Paul the Bear Jew Craig. Brendan Allen comes in with a 22-5 record. He is 27 years old, 6'2", with the 75-inch reach. Paul Craig comes in with a 17-6 record. He is 35 years old, 6'3", with the 76-inch reach. And this line has moved like crazy. Earlier in the week, Brendan Allen was around -295, around -300. He's all the way around -450. Paul Craig earlier in the week was around +280. He's all the way to +350. A lot of money coming in on Brendan Allen, and it's interesting because he should win this fight. Brendan Allen should definitely win this fight. I understand him being the rightful favorite in this fight. He's fighting a one-dimensional fighter in Paul Craig who has very good and dangerous submissions. It's so insane to think that Paul Craig has wins over Magomed Ankalaev and Jamal Hill. Two guys are definitely in the title picture. I mean, one's a former champ, and he has wins over them, especially the Magomed fight, because that scenario, that situation, that sequence shows you that Paul Craig is live to win the fight at any moment. And this is a 5-round fight. He could be getting whooped. He could be getting 10-8'd on his back, getting pounded out, and snatch up a sub on Brendan Allen at any moment in this fight. The thing is, Brendan Allen himself has good jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt himself. He's good offensive and defensive jiu-jitsu, so I don't think he's going to be dumb enough to put himself in a spot to get caught. But sometimes all it takes is one mistake, and you're done, man. You nothing about quitting or something. Getting your arm snapped, there's no tapping from that. You're getting your arm snapped. Ask Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill didn't tap, and he still got his arm snapped. So, I mean, it's tough because Brendan Allen likes to wrestle. He likes to use his offensive wrestling, get guys down on the mat, and just pass their guard and work them from there, whether it be ground and pound or looking for some subs, head and arm or anything like that. Where it's kind of interesting because if he does that, he's putting Paul Craig in the area where he wants to fight. He's putting Paul Craig in the best area where he's most skillful. And Paul Craig's another guy that's been fighting at 205, a light heavyweight, and he's come down to 185. And he actually looks good at the new weight class. So he's going to be a pretty big guy with a lot of power here in this fight. His striking clearly isn't on the same level as Brendan Allen, but with this being a 5-round fight, I think that it is pretty dangerous betting against Paul Craig because at any moment he can get that submission. I don't foresee that happening. If Brendan Allen doesn't finish Paul Craig, I think he will. I think he wins a dominant decision with a couple of 10-8s in there. But give me Brendan Allen to win via third or second round ground and pound. I'm going to go round 2. I think he puts Paul Craig on his back and gets a couple shots in through his guard before he can start to attack those subs and just wear on him. So give me Brendan Allen, ground and pound finish, round 2. That'll do it, guys. A ton of fights, trying to make it a quicker video. Our video's been going really long lately. Trying to shorten it up. Let me know what you think about our bets and our picks in the comments. We're almost at 300 subscribers, so that's what's up. Really appreciate you guys. And good luck this week. We're going to bounce back. We had a losing week last week, but I foresee us having a lot of action on this fight card. I think this is the most underdogs I've ever picked in our show's history. That's interesting. But yeah, man, I really appreciate the support. Good luck on all your bets, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.